My team online, just confirm, can you now see my screen from your side? Just confirm, can you now see my screen from your side? Okay, Terence is confirming there. Can anyone just confirm as well? If you can see my screen and if I'm clear from your side. So today is our final session for business and technology. So hopefully today we are going to round up the key issues that you're supposed to make sure you know of before you get into the exam. So today we are going to be using the CBE practice platform. So it's going to be mimicking the real exam. So the structure, what you can see on the screen is almost the same thing that you are going to see on your exam date. So I've decided that we use this so that you at least get a feel of how it is going to be in the real exam. So the same instructions that you're going to find here are the instructions you're also going to find on the exam day. So now let's get moving. Let's get moving. So the instructions, I'll send you the link to this so that you can go through them, so that on the exam date you don't need to fill up your mind with these things. So it's something that you can even read before the exam. So the instructions are going to the same. Is just telling you how to navigate from one question to the other, which I believe shouldn't be much of a challenge, even if you have never practiced on this platform before. It shouldn't be an issue, really. So let's move on. So these are the instruction pages. There are about 3 pages with instructions. So after reading your instructions, it will ask you if you are now ready to start the exam. So for the instructions page, it was not showing you the time, but the moment you start the exam, it starts counting down your 2 hours. So it's very important that you do start the exam when you're now ready. It's very important that after starting the exam, you manage your time. There's no need for you to go back to the instructions page. So you start the exam after you have read the instructions page. Like I said, it's wise you read this before the exam so that you don't occupy your mind on the exam date with a lot of unnecessary junk. So now we are going to start our exam. So the exam is now starting. So if the exam is now starting, can you check on top here? We have the time for the exam. It's counting down. So it's very important that you manage your time. So you can't even, so whatever you do here, if you delay, the exam will automatically stop. So it's very important that every question you don't spend more than the time required. So if you can divide, that's the exam is out of 100 and you have about 2 hours. 2 hours, that's roughly 2 hours, that's about 120 minutes. So you can divide that by 100. So it means about 1.2 minutes per every mark. So it means you can't take forever on one question. If you can feel that this question is very complicated for you, it's better you move to the next, then you come back to it later than to spend all your time on one question, because once the time elapses, it's going to stop. So it's very important to be checking your time against what you have covered. Then also, it shows you your exam progress. So how many questions have you completed so far? Have you completed all the questions? So it will be showing you that as well. Then let's move on. There's this one, the flag icon. So if you feel like this question I have not done justice to it, you can simply flag it and you move to the next. You can just guess, maybe let me say, then you flag it and move to the next. So why am I saying you can just guess? So that at least if the time is to elapse before you finish, you won't leave questions unanswered. So what you have flagged, it's just a sign that I might need to go back to this one. I have not done justice to it. So in the end of if you flagged, so when you have reached the end, it can show you the questions that you have flagged. You can then click on that question to go back to that question so that you so that you don't waste time by going back one question by each question by each question. So you just go to those that you have flagged. So what else? There's the exit button. The exit button is a no-go area. So once you exit the exam, then it means it's going to give you the mark there, and then so it will calculate based on what you have answered. So you exit when you have completed all the questions. So on this, the only difference with this platform is after we have answered, this one is going to show us whether the answer is correct or is wrong. But in the final exam, you get to know of the answer when you have completed, you get to know of your mark when you have completed the exam. So the major purpose of, now we're getting into the questions. The major purpose of the International Accounting Standard Board, IASB, is to ensure consistency in what? So the IASB is meant to ensure that there is consistency. Remember IASB, I think we did we talk about these, did we talk about these regulatory bodies? So let's maybe quickly go to our, let's go to our notes. So we have the IFRIS Foundation, but I think I remember talking about the Interpretations Committee, the Advisory Council. Did I? Or is it different? Okay. So if we do have that one, let's not waste time. So remember, we have the IASB. The IASB is there to come up with the international accounting standards. They are there to design the standards which we are supposed to follow. And these standards which we are supposed to follow, they are there to harmonize the reporting function. They want to make sure there is one way of accounting so that someone who is in America, someone who is in, maybe someone who is in Britain, if they receive financial statements from Zimbabwe, they might be able to understand them in the same way that we understand them. So they want to harmonize the financial reporting system so that how we report the information is the same. Why did I leave America? America, I think they don't use the same, they use the other type of standards, not the IAS standards. So the countries that have adopted the international accounting standards, they have one way of recording transactions. So this is to harmonize corporate what? Reporting. So the reason why we have the international accounting standards is so that we can have one way of reporting the transactions so that the companies can report in a similar way. So that if the investors are to invest their money or they're to get the financial statements, they'll be able to understand what's going on, even if they are not in that country. So now let's move on. Number two. Question number two. The leadership style that least acknowledges the contribution that subordinates have to make is what? So remember, we can adopt different leadership styles. And Ashridge actually came up with 4 types of the leadership styles. And according to Ashridge, a leader can either adopt an autocratic leadership style, or we can call it the tails leadership style. Sorry, that's not the one. Yes, this one. Leadership styles. So the leadership styles, the leader can adopt the autocratic leadership. Style, the leader can adopt the persuasive. Let's call it the cells as well. With the consultative. We have the democratic. So if we are adopting the autocratic leadership style, if it is the autocratic leadership style, this is the case where the leader, just whatever that they do, you follow. You don't ask questions. So if it is the autocratic leadership style, the leader is right. You don't ask them questions. You don't ask them questions. So this is suitable if we are looking at maybe the army, where you have to follow command. So in an autocratic leadership style, the leader determines. So in an autocratic leadership style, the leader determines how we do things. They tell you how, and you don't ask questions. You follow command. So the autocratic leadership style, according to Ashridge, it can also be called the tails leadership style. The tails leadership style. So this is where the leader simply tells you what you do and you don't ask questions. Then we have the other name for the consultative. We can call it the participative leadership style. Then we have the democratic, which can be also, the democratic can also be regarded, we can also use the joints. So the democratic, it can also be the joint. So these are the leadership styles that Ashridge talks of. So the autocratic leadership style, I've said under this one, the leader tells you what to do and you don't ask questions. Then we have the persuasive or the sales leadership style. So for the persuasive or sales leadership style, this is where the leader does something without your contribution, or they don't ask you, they don't ask for your views. So they just do things without asking for your views. Then in the end, after they've already decided, they try to convince you that the decision that they've made is right for you. So it's like your father or your parent, they just register you for ACCA. Then they come to you after they've already registered and they start explaining to you the benefits of ACCA. But they did not consult you before to ask you if you're interested in the program. They are trying to sell the idea to you after they've already done it without your approval. So that is the sales or persuasive leadership style. The leader tries to persuade you to agree to a decision they have made without involving you. Then the participative or consultative, if it's the participative or consultative, this involves including you in the decision-making process. We consult you to hear your views, but in the end, we do what we think is right. So we can include you in the decision-making process, but it doesn't mean if we've included you, we are going to take your decisions. I just include you in the decision-making process so that I hear your views. If you say something that I think it has sense, I can adopt it. But in the end, I do what I feel is right. So that is if it's the participative. You do participate as subordinates, but in the end, the leader does what they think is right. So that is participative. I want you to feel like you've been involved in the decision-making process. But in the end, I still choose what I think is right. Then the democratic or the joins. If it's the democratic or the joins, you are actually included in the decision-making process and your views matter. Even if the leader has views that are different from your views, we can still go with the vote. So we consider which side has the most support. If it's the democratic, the side which has more support is the side that we choose. So that is in a democratic environment. So if it is a democratic environment, we choose the side which has a lot of support. Now, let's move on. Besides that one, we can also add the authoritative. Authoritative, they can call it visionary leadership. So under the authoritative or visionary leadership, the leader provides clear direction and vision, inspiring others to follow. So the leader is taking a leading role. They are leading from the front. They are the ones that are taking the first step. They are the ones that are leading towards the visionary, and others are following. So authoritative leadership style. This is where you lead from the front. So the leader is providing a clear direction. So they encourage. So they have an element of persuasion. They encourage the subordinates to follow, but they will be leading from the front. They are the visionaries. The leaders are the ones that are going to provide the direction. They inspire others to follow. So these are some of the leadership styles that we can talk about. Now, with that in mind, what word can we use to complete the statement? Maybe there is the term assertive. Assertiveness in leadership is being clear on your ideas while not violating the ideas of others. So this assertiveness is normally used in group, maybe group discussions, or when we are interacting within the group. So if you're assertive, it means you are insisting on your rights without violating the rights of others. So you're bringing your point to the table, but without looking down upon the points of others. So what can we say? The leadership style that least acknowledges the contribution of subordinates. I can see a lot of autocratics coming in from Kodade and the others online. They're saying it's autocratic. I'm now waiting for Tanya, Emmanuel, and Precious. Yes. So autocratic is winning. So let's try autocratic. Yes. And the platform is also agreeing that is autocratic. So unlike in the real exam, you won't be getting the stick. So don't think you can change the answer. So you can't see that until you finish. So after you finish, and you don't even know which one did you get correct and which one was not correct. So after you finish, they just show you your mark. So let's move on. In relation to management of conflict, which of the following approaches will maximize the prospect of consensus? So if it's maximizing consensus, is trying to get two people to agree that are in dispute. If we want to bring a consensus, we are saying these two parties are not agreeing. What can we do to make sure they agree? So if we want to maximize the chances of getting those two parties to agreement, I think, oh, let me hear it from you.
Negotiation.
Coletta is saying negotiation, and I can hear a lot of negotiation coming into play. And I also support negotiation, yes. So if you want to bring parties, if we want to bring parties that are conflicting together, we negotiate. So assertiveness, I have mentioned what assertiveness covers. That's insisting on your rights without violating the rights of others. Avoidance, this is where we pretend as if the conflict is not existing. You try to avoid the conflict. This one, it doesn't solve the problem. If you are fighting, but you pretend as if everything is fine, it doesn't stop the conflict. Acceptance as well doesn't stop the conflict. Now let's move on. Dara has been appointed to the management team of a professional football club. His role includes coaching, mentoring, and counseling young players who have just signed the contract with the club for the first time. Remember, coaching involves helping someone develop on their skills. Coaching involves nurturing talent. Mentoring, you're helping someone to get there. If you're mentoring, you are helping them to reach the level that you reached. You're helping them to overcome the problems that you also overcame. Then counseling is more of assisting with personal issues. So if you are acting as a counselor, you are helping the subordinates to be able to cope up with their personal issues. So now can I hear it from you? Which role can we align to each of those? Helping the players to anticipate the opponent's reaction. What can we say about that? Is that mentoring? Is that counseling? Is that coaching? Okay, we have a coaching. What else? Do you all agree to coaching? Tafara is also saying that is a coach. Okay, so let's check. Let's take the coach and see if Michelle is also saying that's a coach. Identifying each player's key skills and encouraging them okay, identifying each player's skills and encouraging them to develop new skills. We are identifying each player's skills and encouraging them to develop new skills. What can we say about this one?
Mentoring.
I can see a lot of mentoring coming through. Do you all support mentoring? So since you are supporting mentoring,
Yes.
I'm going to take mentoring even though I'm not supporting it. So let's move on. The next one, helping the young players settle during their first week. Helping them to settle during the first week. Coaching. Then you say one.
It's mentoring, say. It's mentoring.
It's mentoring, yes. So that is a mentor. They have been there, they are telling mentees how they can adapt, advising the players on addressing personal issues. That's
Counseling.
and they are saying it's wrong. The combination
Yes,
is
apo
wrong.
pane identifying each player's key skills is coaching.
It's coaching. Let's see if that's true. So that's true. And so remember we said a coach is there to develop. So they identify the talent, they develop the talent that is in you. So if even the coach is there, even in a soccer team, they can go to these, they can go to schools and scout for players. They'll be identifying that there is talent here. Then they can pick those and train them and groom them. And so that is, so now we can now move on. So you can check your progress here. So it's showing you that you have completed 4. And it's also showing that number 1 was flagged. So, like I said, after you're done, you can go to the one that you have flagged. So instead of now going back one, you can just go to those that you have flagged. Then maybe now let's move on. Number 5. So for number 5, in order to ensure that the policies of an organization are consistent with its environmental and social responsibilities, on which of the following should the directors of a company focus? So we want to make sure our activities are good for environmental and social responsibility. We want to be responsible citizens. We want to conduct our business in a manner that is not going to make our stakeholders angry. So we want to invest in making sure the organization benefits all the stakeholders, not just the shareholders. So what is it that we are supposed to do?
A.
Coletta is saying A, Michelle is saying compliance with, Michelle is saying the second one. Okay. Then we have B from, who is that with the administrator name? I don't know that. So we have A, we now have A and B, A and B.
B.
B is getting a lot of support. Okay. I normally go with Coletta's answer. Coletta rarely gets answers wrong. And ACCA is not even agreeing with you guys, so I don't know why you got B. But let's try Coletta's answer. And A is correct. So remember, complying with legal requirements, that one is good if we want to make, if we want to be in good books with the, we can say if we want to be in good books with the government, or if we want to be in good books with the law enforcement agents. But the question is looking at the social environment. So the best way to make sure you have satisfied the desires of the environmental and social responsibility is to make sure you do things that benefit everyone as a whole, not just your business. Because once you do things that are violating the demands of other stakeholders, you're failing to satisfy the social aspect. So if you want to make sure you are doing things that are benefiting the social environment, do things that have the well-being of all the stakeholders, not prioritizing some and leaving out some. B prioritizes the legal aspect, but following the laws doesn't mean you are benefiting the society. So the society also wants you to provide scholarships. They want you to be benefiting the environment. So following the laws doesn't mean I'm benefiting the society in anyhow. So the social environment doesn't benefit simply because I've been following the laws and regulations. So the best answer there is doing things that are for the best interest of all the stakeholders. Martin is an experienced and fully trained shipbuilder based in a Western European city. Due to the significant economic change in supply and demand conditions for shipbuilding in Martin's own country, the shipyard he worked for has closed and he was made redundant. There was no other local demand for his skills within his own region, and he would have to move to another country to obtain similar employment, and could only find similar work locally through undertaking at least a year's retraining in a related engineering field. Which of the following describes the type of unemployment that Martin has been affected with? Which type of unemployment causes your skills to be less relevant? Today is saying it's structural.
Structural.
Coletta is saying
Structural.
structural. Anyone with a different answer? Dennis is also saying structural. So I think 3 structurals are enough for me to choose structural as well. So, and indeed, ACCA is agreeing to that. So I think we did talk about these types of unemployment. So we did talk about these types of unemployment. So in the previous sessions. So it's very important. It's a key area. I think in every question paper, we are getting this one, the issue of unemployment. So please make sure you also read that and you are well versed with the various areas. So the marginal unemployment, it can be marginal unemployment is for those that are looking for the job, but those that are unemployed because they are not actively looking for the job. So they haven't looked for the job. They're just saying, there are those people, zvakaoma hakuna mabasa wakambotsvaga kupi iwe ndotsvaga kupi auzive kuti zvakaoma izvi hakuna kana mabasa. Now let's move on. So marginally unemployed, they are not actively looking for the job. Let's move on. Which of the following is the main function of marketing? So marketing involves going into the field, identifying, anticipating, and satisfying the needs and wants. I can see B is coming through. B, 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 B. So marketing, yes, Coletta is agreeing that it's B. Marketing involves identifying and anticipating. I think everyone is saying B, so let's go for B, and B is correct. So if it's marketing, we are identifying that which the market wants. Identifying involves going into the market, finding out what is it that they need now and they don't have it. So identifying involves finding out what they need now, but they don't have it. Then besides identifying, we have anticipating. Anticipating is trying to predict what is it that they will need in the future. Identifying is what is it that they need now. Then anticipating is what is it that they will need. Marketing doesn't end there. It ends with you providing. Auditors would find big data analytics most useful for which two of the following tasks? So auditors, they verify to see whether the transactions are true and fair. I did mention that in the previous discussions that auditors are there to, external auditors are there to report to the shareholders on how the transactions were recorded. Do they think the transactions are true and fair or not? So the auditors, they can use the data analytic tools. These are tools that can be used to analyze data. These are tools that can help simplify data analytics. It's actually one interesting field. After you've completed your ACCA, you can also consider doing data analytics, can merge the two. Why? Because data analytics can be useful in interpreting the information you've gathered. In accounting, we record the information. Data analytics then tends to come up with meanings from that data. So as an auditor, we can use data analytics to identify where errors and fraud might have taken place. So from the list given there, what could the data analytics tools help an auditor? What can we use a machine for? What can we use a software for in this case? Now let's look at the points and see where can a software be applied. Was optional, you can use a manual system, but now we are saying you're using a data analytics system. Michelle, I can't, you said what?
D.
Michelle,
D.
D. D and what? B. Okay, you are correct because the portal is agreed. So predicting the probability of key risks materializing and detecting unusual patterns in accounting ratios. So those are issues that can be associated with. Now let's move on. The overall average age of a population in a country is directly dependent on two demographic factors, birth rates and the death rates. So the demographic population. So we are saying the population is dependent on two factors. The population is dependent on birth rates and death rates. Assuming equal rates of change, will each of the following lead to which of the following will lead to an overall aging population? Aging population, what population is regarded as being aging population? Who can help with that? What's aging population? Aging population. So aging population is that population with the elderly. Yes. So what can cause the population to end up having the elderly people on? Is it decreasing birth rate? That yes or no? If the birth rates are decreasing, does it result in aging population? You said what? No. Yes, no, yes, no. What are you saying? Please be. Okay, so I'm getting no's. Of course, Emmanuel is saying yes, and I don't know which side to support, but I think I can't leave Emmanuel alone. So I think a lot of yeses are coming. from online teams. So now I'm shifting to yes, because yes is winning. So what about the increasing death rate?
No.
No, and that's correct. So why are we saying it's correct? It's because if there are low birth rates, new people are being, we don't have new born babies. So it means those that were born are growing to become elders. And if the death rate is low, it means those elders are not dying. So they're just, those that were born maybe long back, they're just growing to become, elderly people. So it means in the end, you're going to have a population with a lot of elderly people because they're not dying, yet no new people are being born. So our population is going to have a lot of elderly people. So in order to balance the equation, some have to be born and some have to die. At least the equation should be balanced. So at least it's good. It's a good thing that you have to die at some point. Because just imagine if Lobengula and all the others are still alive, it would be a disaster. So the population remains stable because others are dying and others are being born. Okay, let's move on. Gil is conducting an appraisal interview with his assistant, Gil. He initially feeds back to Gil areas of strength and weaknesses. So Gil is the one conducting the appraisal. Then he feeds back to Gil areas of strength and weakness of performing, but then invites Gil to talk about the job, her aspirations, expectations, problems. He adopts a non-judgmental approach and often offers suggestions and guidance. So this approach to performance appraisal is okay. I'm getting a C from Kuda there. So all right, just hold it a bit. So the approaches to performance appraisal, we have the 360-degree approach. The 360-degree approach tells and sells, tells and listen, problem solving, so let's start with the 360-degree approach. So 360-degree approach, we are appraising the performance from different sources. It's like, it's not just one person who is checking your performance. So your supervisor gives you your feedback on the performance. You have your peers, someone whom you're working with, they also give you feedback. So you're not getting feedback from one person. So the feedback comes from different sources. That's the 360-degree approach. So you get feedback from different people. Then tells and sells. So the tells and sells, if it's a tells and sells approach, the appraiser, the one that is checking your performance, they tell you the areas where you went wrong, and they try to give you a solution to the problem without hearing your side. It's like when the manager tells you you have failed, you didn't do well, you need a lot of training. So it's me giving you a test. Then I tell you, you have failed, you need to read. You need to read, you're not reading. I have not given you room to ask you what could have caused you to fail. Maybe you're reading every day, but the area was not covered in class. So if it's the tells and sells, the leader tries to give you a solution to the problem without including. Then we have the tells and listen. So the tells and listen, this is where I tell you the areas where you went wrong, and even the good areas, but I tell you the areas where you went wrong, and I hear from you what could be done or what could have caused the problem. So we listen to you, we give you room to also contribute in the appraisal process. Then problem solving, it is more of related to tells and listen. So the problem solving, this one again, it involves you sitting down with the person that that you are appraising, and you evaluate how they have performed, and you give them room to also contribute in the evaluation process. So they are actually going to be part of the process, also giving their views, what could have caused them to fail. So the appraisal process involves the appraisee being part of the process and also figuring out what could be the problem. So with that, let's try to go and identify what is the correct. So this one, it goes to, what can we say about this one?
C.
Tells and listen. So yes, the portal is agreeing to that. What is the primary responsibility of external auditor? So my auditors, what's your primary responsibility? As an auditor, what's your primary responsibility? What's your primary responsibility as an external auditor? So as an external auditor, remember, an external auditor is there to give an opinion to the shareholders. An external auditor is there to verify the accounts. Then they give the opinion to the shareholder. That's the external auditor for you. They verify the accounts, they give the opinion to the shareholders. So they don't have the responsibility to prepare the accounts. It's never an auditor's responsibility to also make sure there are no errors. It's not their responsibility. So an auditor doesn't make sure there are no errors. It's the duty of the directors that have prepared the accounts, not the auditor. So an auditor is just there to verify that the accounts are free from not even all errors, but from material errors and misstatements. Because even if you are to hire the big four in order the dominant big four companies for auditing, those ones still they can miss out some issues because an audit doesn't give 100% assurance that there are no errors, but they look for material errors and mistakes. So they are giving an assurance that the accounts are free from material errors and mistakes. So which answer is correct? I'm getting a B, D, B, D. So 2 Ds, 1 B. Others, what's your take? I'm still getting 2 Ds and 1 B. So others, what are you saying? The class is quite a lot of. Now two Cs, 2 Cs, 2 Ds, 2. A lot of people are supporting D. Let's go for D and C, but D is not correct. But let's just go and see where it's wrong. So I'm sorry, those who are going for D. I think C is now getting much ground. Yes, C is correct. So remember, I said auditors are there to ensure that the accounts are reasonably correct. They are free from significant errors. They are not 100% accurate, but reasonably they are saying, we have checked, yes, there aren't huge errors we have been able to identify. Why is D wrong? There is the statement which is saying all the transactions. Just think of maybe let's talk about a company like Delta. And we are talking about all the transactions. So you want the auditors to verify every receipt. This is not for the month, just imagine. It's for the whole year. And every day, how many transactions are they making? So the auditors will otherwise spend the whole year auditing because those are large companies. They have a lot of transactions that take place in just a day. So verifying that every amount there is correct is it's not practical. So auditors use samples. They don't verify all, but they use samples. So in auditing, we use samples. We can't check everything in detail. Then those saying B are these are B. Again, B is wrong. Why? Because of the word all there. They report material mistakes, large errors, not all errors. The material mistakes. We have talked about ethics. So this one, I don't need to give you any additional notes. Can you just look at the question and tell me the answer?
C.
Self-review is getting a lot of support. And self-review is correct. Anyone who doesn't understand why self-review? Remember, self-review is said you're checking something that you prepare. So once they say prepare something and come back again and check that same thing that you prepared, self-review. You're checking your own work. That's self-review threat. Being required to check your own work. Wasim is a customer service manager in a large leisure park. The forthcoming weekend is going to be the busiest of the year, as it is a public holiday. Wasim has to cope with several absentees, leaving him short-staffed in public areas of the park. His manager has told him that he expects him to catch up with some administrative reports that were due last week. Wasim has also arranged for 6 new staff to be trained, who will be arriving imminently. In order to manage his workload, the most effectively, what should Wasim do to manage his workload most effectively? So this is time management. You're under pressure. Yes, Coletta?
A.
A. Coletta is saying A. What is A? Prioritize the task in relation to the most important business outcome. Do you agree with Coletta? Coletta lies a lot. Do you agree with you this time around? Terence is supporting her. They are teaming up. Do you also want to be part of their team? Because I'm part of their team. And everyone is now part of the team. So let's check. So yes, we prioritize what is important. So that's correct. Let's move. In order to discharge their duties ethically, finance directors must ensure the information published by their organizations provide complete and precise view of the position of the business without concealing negative aspects that might distort the reader's perception. So we are showing what happened without just showing the good side. So even if it's bad, we are telling people it's bad. Coletta, yes, your mic is on. What do you want to say?
D.
Coletta is saying objectivity. Do you agree with Coletta? Okay, a lot of people are agreeing with Coletta. So, objectivity. So the manager is not trying to, if you have objectivity and honesty, they are, and integrity, these are branches of the same tree. They are very difficult to distinguish. But objectivity is where you are not trying to be benefiting. So if we portray a picture that we are doing well, we might want to protect our position as directors. We are doing it for personal benefit, while putting the rest of the because we want to protect our position as directors. So we want to portray the picture that the company is doing well. Which of the following is the purpose of IFAC? IFAC is the board that designs those. Do you remember the ethical standards, the ACCA's code of conduct? So for ACCA members, we have our code of conduct. So our code of conduct, let's go to the ACCA. Let's go and put the ACCA code of conduct. So the ACCA's code of conduct requires that if you are an ACCA practicing member, you must behave with integrity. As an ACCA member, you must behave with integrity. What is behaving with integrity? Behaving with integrity, it means you are being honest in your behavior. Integrity is being honest in your behavior. Integrity is being honest in your behavior. Then besides integrity, you are also supposed to have objectivity, not prioritizing your benefits first, not putting your interests at heart, avoiding conflict of interest. As an ACCA member, you're supposed to have professional behavior. Conduct yourself with professional competence. So we have professional competence and due care. Professional competence and due care. So professional competence and due care. Professional competence and due care. So professional competence and due care. So if it's professional competence, we are saying that professional competence, you are supposed to accept a responsibility that you know you have the skills. So you are supposed to accept a responsibility that you know you have the skills required. So professional competence, you're supposed to accept a responsibility that you know you have the skills required. Besides the professional competence and due care, we have confidentiality. So as an ACCA member, you come across, not ACCA member, as an accountant, you come across confidential information of the company. You're not supposed to disclose that without being authorized. So it's supposed to be guided by confidentiality, where you akudiwa ne matuki kunotodiwa ne ana. And so don't disclose anything, because you might put yourself in danger of being sued by the company. Also, professional behavior. So professional behavior is saying, generally, don't be found doing things that can drag the name of the profession in the mud. That would drag the name of the profession in the mud. So don't be involved in things that would drag the name of the profession in the mud. So now with that in mind, things that can drag the name of the profession in the mud, it's like you are stealing. Of course, you are an armed robber and you are also a professional. And people are hearing that you are saying you're a professional member, but you are actually committing crimes. So that is not having professional behavior. That's not behaving with professional behavior. That's not behaving with professional behavior. Now let's move on. So let's look at the question. So what's your take? What's your answer? So you're saying it's A. Others are silent. Can I hear your answers, please?
B or D?
B or D? It will be interesting on the day, because you'll be looking for B or D, but you feel this is the answer, but they're not giving you the B or D. And that is the most boring question, because initially you write B, then at the end you flag it. And then when you write D throughout, exam rapera. Wapedza womboti aiwamba ti D. Then wapedza wakunotovhura bhuku obvaona B was correct. So now have you guys agreed? Which one? So which of the following is the purpose of the standards? So the standards are there. Number one is saying agreement of legally binding financial reporting standards across all members for accounting organizations. Prevention of international financial crimes such as money laundering and insider dealing. promotion of ethical standards in all member organizations. That's the correct answer. So if you're a member to IFAC, it means you're supposed to, this is the board that sets these ethical standards. So if you are a member to that board, it means you are supposed to conduct yourself in an ethical manner. So they want to promote ethical standards for all member organizations. So these apply to members of IFAC. So ACCA is part of the member of IFAC. So we are guided by these ethical standards. Are the following statements regarding informal organizations true or false? So remember, within the organization, there is the formal organization and the informal organization. There is the formal and the informal organizations. There is the formal and the informal organizations. So, reading the statements, what can we say about this? Regarding informal organizations, true or false? Tafara is saying false, true.
True, false.
How can you go the opposite of Tafara? Then true, false as well. So true, false is winning. So I think true, false now is support than Tafara. Tafara was on your side, but hey. Others, what are you saying? True, false.
True, false.
False, true, say.
At least my Sazita is saying false, true. I can't go against my Sazita. So I'm going with false, true, which is correct. So those saying true, false, I don't know why you were choosing the wrong ones. Maybe you didn't read the question correctly. But anyway, the opposite of your answer was correct. So it's supposed to be some organizations do not have an informal. Some organizations do not have an informal element. That's what the organization have formal and informal. So informal organizations, they do exist alongside the formal structure, and they're involuntary. As people interact in class, we have Precious. She has found a friend in the class. We have Emmanuel. He is someone whom he talks to. So that is actually an informal relationship. As long as now we are interacting with someone else, which is not on the schedule, it's now informal. Then informal organizations should be considered, yes, because they play a very crucial role, an influential role. They can influence the other workers not to work. So you do need to consider them. They have an impact in our operations. Nelly works as a procurement manager of JL Company, a large service company. So information provided by Nelly is most relevant to which of the following elements of the marketing mix? Let's go to our Excel. Not to our Excel, to our Word. And maybe add on something there. So we have the basic 4 P's of the marketing mix. Then the extended P's, which apply to a service industry. So the 4 P's are not for a service industry. So we have the additional P's. I'm sure the 4 P's, you all know those. For service industry. The additional P's for service industry. The first one is people. The other one is process. The other one is physical evidence. So in order for the marketing process to take place, we must have people. Like we are providing a service. So for the provision of the service to be effective, we need employees who interact with customers. So we are supposed to have employees at the reception that are able to interact with the customers. Because when someone comes to inquire, okay, I want to do ACCA. Why should I choose doing ACCA with you? If it was a product, a physical product, we can show you, this is what we produce. You can look at the product, how nice it is. But for a service, it's not there. You're selling something that is not there. So we do need to have human resource that is going to be able to interact with customers. Then we also need the process. There must be a good process for it to aid the marketing process. We are going to tell you, when we are learning, we can do it online. We can do it face to face. We can use a projector. So we are trying to show you how the process is being done as a way of attracting the customers, as a way of trying to promote the product. So the process we are going to use can help in the marketing of a service, how the service is to be delivered. Then there is need for a physical evidence. So for a service, we are not selling something that is tangible, but the environment can be able to relay the message that, no, these people know what they are doing. So physical evidence, the customers, when they come, what do they physically see? So if we're saying we teach ACCA, and ACCA is a very good program, then you ask, so where are we going to be learning? Then I tell you, on those benches there, we don't have chairs, but don't worry, very soon you're going to buy chairs. Then you're going to lose relevance from that point. Even though you have not heard my voice, but the fact of the presentation that you have just seen, which is triggered by environment, can be able to attract customers or draw them away, especially if it's a service. Unlike a product, they'll be seeing the product. But the service, the moment that they see the environment, the physical environment, not appeasing, they also think you are going to deliver the service the same way that you have delivered the environment. So for the marketing of a service to be a success, it has to be assisted by people, the process, the physical evidence. Now, let's go and look at the question. So Nelly is in the Department of Procurement. By which P is most relevant to Nelly then? Come on, guys. Which P is relevant? Again, you guys. You're saying A. Are you sure you can support your A? I can see a lot of A's coming through. Do you think you have a support for that? Just Michelle is saying a B. Michelle decided to run away from A because I'm now talking about supporting A. Okay, anyone with a different view? D. So we are now just left with C to complete the wrong puzzle. Come on. If you're in the procurement department, what do you do? You are in the procurement department. In the procurement department, you are buying. So the P, that the information relevant to me is the price. C and D, those are wrong ones, Kuda. So the correct answer is the price there, I think. Whereas in the procurement department, you're dealing with price. So you need to know at this price where if you buy material at this price, how much are we selling the material at? So that one is crucial. In relation to internal control procedures, which, remember, we did talk about these internal controls in the revision sessions. If you check the earlier revision sessions. In relation to internal control procedures, which type of control is being used when a line manager approves the weekly hours worked that have been submitted by an employee? So we are now approving the hours which have been worked. We are approving so that they get paid. What can we say? Yes, Coletta?
B.
Coletta is saying it's B. So what is B saying? That is authorization. So they're authorizing, yes. So they are authorizing the hours. Malachi has been asked by his manager to analyze the financial accounts of ABC company, which is binding for a contract offered by Malachi's company in the near future. The two financial statements which he will be using as his sources are the financial statement of financial position and the statement of profit or loss. From which financial statements will Malach obtain the following information? This shows I read the Bible a lot. You can see I remember Malachi. Statement of financial position, statement of profit and loss. So liquidity, where do we get liquidity from? If we want to assess the liquidity position, where do we get the liquidity position? Yes, the liquidity is shown in the statement of financial position. Then the liquidity is shown in the statement of financial position. Then what about long-term borrowings? Long-term borrowings, guys, come on. Yes, Christine?
Statement of financial position.
Yes, it's the statement of financial position. Operating costs as a percentage of revenue. This is just balance sheet and income statement. Do you find revenue in the balance sheet? Yes, Kuda?
Statement of profit and loss.
Profit and loss. What about the equity of the company?
Statement of financial position.
It's the statement of financial position. It doesn't get more easier than this. Please don't fail this. Lee owns a busy restaurant. She has had complaints from regular customers about diners failing to control their noisy and unruly children, which is spoiling their dining experiences. Which of the following courses of action would be regarded as the pluralist solution? So you realize that some of these things we've been talking about them over and over and over. So mastering those areas is very key. So pluralist, you're trying to balance both. You want to satisfy both. Egoism, we said self-centered. So this one is pluralism. What can we say? We want to make it good for all of them.
A, sir.
So could I say A? Michelle is saying A. Coletta?
A.
A. So, okay. A is saying setting aside a separate section for the restaurant for families with children. And Dennis and the rest, they are also supporting A. So A is correct. Let's move on. Which of the following is the data protection legislation primarily designed to protect? Data protection. So let me assist with this one. So for data protection, so it protects private individuals on whom, let me check, it should be B. Let me check first if it's correct. Yes. So if your data has been regulated, the company has kept your data. So if your data is private information, then it must not be disclosed. So they obtained your information. They shouldn't use it for personal gains without your involvement. So they've taken your data. They shouldn't use it for personal benefit. Which of the following is an example of a system used by a company to record sales and purchases? So the sales you're making, the daily sales and the daily purchases. The sales and purchases, the daily sales and the daily purchases.
C.
C. They are saying C. Let's see if C is correct. C is correct. That's a transaction processing system. It is used to record the regular daily transactions. Which two of the following are examples of connected stakeholders? So remember, the stakeholders, they can be internal stakeholders. They can be external stakeholders. They can be connected stakeholders. So those that are connected, we deal with them regularly. So which stakeholders can we classify as being connected stakeholders? We have talked about this, A and B. That's from Kuda. Others, what are you saying? B. There are two. We need two. Kuda said A and B. So let's check A and B from Tafara as well. Let's check A and B. So A and B are correct. So A and B are correct. Let's move. In economic environment of high price inflation, those who owe money will gain and those who are owed will lose. Is that true? If there's inflation, it's better to borrow a lot of money. Is it true? If you are the one that is owing money, you benefit in the case of inflation. Is that true?
True.
True.
So yes, that's true. Because when you pay it back, it will be having less value. So that's true. So when you repay it back, it will be having less value. Let's move on. Role-playing exercise using video recording and playback would be most effective for which type of training? So you are using videos and you are playing with playbacks. So someone can go and replay it back. This one was a tricky one. Introduction of a new process. Dissemination of technical knowledge. Role-playing using video recordings and playbacks would be most effective for which type of training? Development of selling skills. What do you have to say about this one?
Chimbotika idise.
Anna Coletta Botica D. Yay, Coletta is right. So this one is a tricky one. I honestly, I was thinking of B. So I don't know whether Coletta can give us a line of thinking there. Why did you say D? Or simply because D is the correct answer?
Say ansomugona side.
Yes.
Inanga I was looking at my ways of learning reflector chichichi. So I think if I look at dissemination and introduction of new processes, we are looking at ayaninga up like practically, yeah, that's hands on. Then your account regulation and compliance is more about like ngoverenga, that's theory. Then when it comes to development of skills, it's like inenge ichida kuti munhu anyasoona kunyasoona kuti zviri zvichifamba sei, like a reflector, like reflect learning like.
Okay, I think with the line of thinking you've said, I can say maybe development of, if it's development, you are developing on something that you know. So of course, yes, introduction of something, it might need hands-on. So if you're developing on something, you can now use a video. It's more like you're someone that is now going through my video tutorials. You're now going back to try to just develop or something that you have done in class, than just going to from scratch. You just want to use the videos so it's just for reinforcement of something that you have already. Maybe if it's for development, because development is more of reinforcing something that you might have an idea on. Okay, this one, it means I would get 99 then. So that one, let's move on to Renata. Has attended a leadership development course in which she experienced a self-analysis exercise using the Black and Morton managerial grid. So remember the Black and Morton managerial grid, where we are classifying the different types of management. So we have those that we can say they are 1-1. We have those that we can classify under 9-1. We have those that we can classify under different categories. So we have the stakeholders that we can classify under different categories. So 9-1, in terms of, let me ask, remember if you did maths, these are given in the form XY, XY. So the horizontal X is the diagram. I don't know how you understood the diagram, but for me, the X-axis, it was the concern for the task. The Y-axis was the concern for people. And 9-1, it means the concern for the task is 9, which is very high. But concern for people is very low. So this is a type of a leader with so much concern for the task, but very little concern for the people. What can we say about this one? Two, we want two. B and D from Tafara. What else? Who else? Tafara said B and D. I'm waiting for your views as well. B and D again. So let's check B and D. So yes, that's true. Because if you are a task manager, you're more concerned with getting things done. You're not concerned about whether the team is happy or not. You're more concerned with getting things done. You are not concerned about whether the team is happy or not. Let's move on. The implementation of a budgetary control system in a large organization would be a responsibility of internal auditor. Do you agree with that? The manager prepares the internal auditor prepares budgets. If you are thinking it's yes, please, I can allow you to write in December. If you are saying it's correct, please, you need more time to read because there's a disaster there. So remember what we said about internal auditors. So they are not even in the budgetary system. They are more of reporting to the managers on the control system. They are assigned by managers to check, by directors to check, then they report internally regarding whether there are errors. They check, are there no errors, is there no fraud, and report internally. So they don't prepare any budgets. Which two of the following are roles of external auditors? I'm joking. If you want to write, you can still try your luck, even if that area. So just make sure the areas that we have been doing are going out. These areas are still lagging. Please just polish up those areas. What time are we left with? Okay, when we are left with 10 minutes, I will just quickly go through some of the areas that I feel you need to just recap on. So let's proceed. Which two of the following are roles of an external auditor? An external auditor? External auditor. AC.
A and C.
A and C. You guys are ready to get 100%, I can see. Let's move. Or is anyone disputing with A and C? So confirming that the financial accounts trend, confirming that they are appropriate policies, no. So B is noted. So let's move on. Professional accountants must demonstrate integrity at all times. Professional accountants, is it true you must demonstrate integrity? Which of the following best describes the meaning of integrity? Being honest. Okay, we have A, we have A, we have A, we have A. What if A is not true? Which one would you put? So A is wrong. A is objectivity.
So it's B, sir.
C.
Then B and C and every answer then. If only they could give us that option to mark C and B and C at once, then it would be so much happy. So B, they are refusing to B as well. So having moral values, integrity, you are being guided by moral values. You are saying things honestly. Being honest is a moral value. So applying consistently a high moral values. So you're being remember moral or ethical values. They've rules to say this is right, this is wrong. So you are conducting yourself in a way that is being regarded as being right. Because the question is a tricky one, always where there is integrity, objectivity, those areas are very difficult to distinguish in a question. Which two of the following are characteristic of a public limited company, but not a cooperative? Oh, take note of that. But, there's a but not a cooperative. So it applies to a public limited company, but not a cooperative. And we want two. A and D, let's check A and D. If A and D wrong. Which one? Okay.
A and C.
You're saying what?
A and C.
A and C. Let's try A and C. So you are correct. So in cooperative, it's more like we are the same, but in public limited companies, the more the shares, the more power you have. Okay, so now we are above halfway. If you feel like I got everything correct, I just want 50%, you don't want 80. You can just come and say, exit. Are you sure you want to exit the exam? Then you say, yes, I want to exit. Then you score your 51%. So that's how fast the system is going to calculate your percent. It's just a matter of a few seconds. So I'll send you the link for you to finish up if you want to finish up this mock exam. So Key focus areas. Before you get into exam, please make sure you read areas, those areas to do with IT, information systems. So where should you be focusing on? There are two areas you can read the information. If you go on just go on, or even if you go on Google, just type technical articles. For business and technology. These ones, the technical articles, maybe just browse through all of them if possible. Just browse through all of them. Then you also make use of the study hub. Why am I recommending this? This is material direct from ACCA. So also read the information systems from the study hub. So the technical articles, just read them for not just for information technology, but for all the other areas as well. So the study hub and the technical articles. So information technology, please visit that. We have the area to do with auditing, external auditors, internal auditors. Please read that, internal controls. Please, that area, just to recap it before you sit for your exam. Key hints on the exam date, I have told you on the day. Please start with the areas that, if you can see that this question is not going well with you, please just flag it and move to the next. You don't pass because you have perfected on one question. But from my experience, BT, you're all likely to finish. Maybe for MA and FA with their calculations, this is where we find a challenge where one person is spending the whole, they want to actually spend the entire exam perfecting one answer with 1 mark and losing the rest of the 99. So please move to the next and just flag it so that in the event that you complete faster than the prescribed time, you can then come back to it. Because there'll be easier questions, hard questions, and difficult ones. So you need not to lose the easier marks ahead. Plus also, normally if you try to concentrate too much on one question, you are likely to get exhausted. But even when you get to the easier questions, you might fail to pick the issues. Like business and technology, it requires someone who is very particular about detail. The answer can be wrong simply because there is one term, like "or." They ensure that there are no errors. No is made, it can make the answer wrong. So every word matters for business and technology. So it requires someone who is whose mind is not too filled up. So again, another issue, just browse. This one, it can be day before. Just go through the theories. I'll check if I still have my a slide for summarized theories, and I'll send. So a breakdown of the theories. So the theories, if you want to do them now, you might forget, but just the day before, just browse through the theories. So for now, we are going to end here. Now let me give you a chance to ask any burning questions before we close.